There's a medical file locked in a private safe in the Rock's home that contains test results he's never shared with anyone except his wife. The diagnosis inside that file forced him to confront his own mortality and make decisions that would either save his life or destroy his family's peace of mind. What the doctors found wasn't just a threat to his health, it was connected to a family medical history that had been hidden from him his entire life. March 3, 2020, 2:17 p.m. Dwayne Johnson was in his home office, reviewing scripts for upcoming projects, when his phone rang with a call from Dr. Richard Castellanos, the cardiologist who had been conducting his annual executive physical. This was supposed to be a routine follow-up call to discuss normal test results and maybe some minor recommendations for his already impressive fitness routine. Instead, Dr. Castellanos' voice carried a gravity that immediately made Dwayne's stomach drop. "Dwayne, I need you to come in immediately. We need to discuss your test results in person, and I want to run some additional tests right away." "Doc, just tell me over the phone. How bad is it?" "I can't discuss the details over the phone, but I need you to understand that this is urgent. Can you be here within the hour?" The drive to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center was the longest 45 minutes of Dwayne's life. His mind raced through every possibility: cancer, heart disease, neurological conditions. At 48 years old, he felt like he was in the best shape of his life, but he knew that serious illnesses could hide behind perfect physiques. When he arrived at Dr. Castellanos' office, he found not just his cardiologist, but also Dr. Sarah Kim, an oncologist, and Dr. Michael Torres, a genetic specialist. The presence of multiple specialists told him everything he needed to know about the seriousness of whatever they discovered. "Dwayne," Dr. Castellanos began, "your blood work has revealed some concerning markers that indicate a high risk for a hereditary condition called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. It's a genetic heart condition that can be extremely dangerous if left untreated." Dwayne felt the room spinning slightly. "What does that mean exactly?" Dr. Kim took over the explanation. "Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is a condition where the heart muscle becomes abnormally thick, which can obstruct blood flow and cause irregular heartbeats. In severe cases, it can lead to sudden cardiac arrest, even in people who appear to be in perfect health." The genetic specialist Dr. Torres opened a thick file and spread out several charts and family trees. "Mr. Johnson, we need to discuss your family medical history. Have you ever been told about any heart conditions in your family, particularly sudden deaths in relatively young, healthy family members?" Dwayne thought back through his family history. "My grandfather died of a heart attack when he was 45, but I was told that was because of his lifestyle: smoking, drinking, the stress of wrestling." Dr. Torres exchanged glances with the other doctors. "We need to talk about that. The preliminary genetic testing suggests that your grandfather's death, and possibly other deaths in your family line, may not have been lifestyle-related. They may have been caused by the same genetic condition we're seeing markers for in your blood." The next 3 hours were a blur of additional tests, detailed family history discussions, and explanations of genetic inheritance patterns that made Dwayne realize how little he actually knew about his own family's medical past. The most shocking revelation came when Dr. Torres showed him research he'd conducted into Polynesian genetic health patterns. "Mr. Johnson, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy has a higher prevalence in certain Pacific Islander populations, including Samoans. What we're seeing in your test results is consistent with a genetic variant that can remain dormant for years before manifesting, often triggered by extreme physical stress or aging." "Are you saying my grandfather didn't die from lifestyle choices?" "We're saying it's possible that your grandfather died from the same genetic condition that you're showing markers for. And if that's true, then other male members of your family may also be at risk." The implications hit Dwayne like a freight train. If this was a genetic condition, it meant that his father, Rocky Johnson, might also be at risk. More terrifyingly, it meant that his daughters might have inherited the gene from him. Dr. Castellanos pulled out the most concerning test results. "Dwayne, your current cardiac markers suggest that you're in the early stages of developing this condition. The good news is that we've caught it early. The challenging news is that it's going to require significant lifestyle changes and ongoing monitoring." "What kind of lifestyle changes?" "You'll need to dramatically reduce the intensity of your workouts. No more heavy weightlifting, no more extreme physical challenges, and definitely no more doing your own stunts in movies. The kind of physical stress you regularly put your body through could trigger a cardiac event." Dwayne felt like his identity was being stripped away piece by piece. His entire career, his public image, his personal sense of self, everything was built around physical strength and the ability to push his body to extreme limits. Doctor, I have movie commitments that require intense physical performance. I have a brand built around fitness and strength. Are you telling me I need to give all of that up? Dr. Kim leaned forward. We're telling you that you need to choose between maintaining your current lifestyle and staying alive for your family. The conversation continued for another hour, covering treatment options, monitoring protocols, and the genetic testing that would be needed for his family members. But Dwayne was struggling to process the fundamental shift in his understanding of his own life and future. As he drove home that evening, Dwayne realized he was facing a crisis that was more complex than just his own health. He had to decide whether to tell his family about the diagnosis, knowing it would terrify them and potentially require his daughters to undergo genetic testing. He had to figure out how to modify his career without revealing the health issues that could affect his insurance, his movie contracts, and his business partnerships. Most challenging of all, he had to confront the possibility that the physical strength he'd built his entire identity around might actually be killing him. The conversation with his wife, Lauren, that night was one of the most difficult of their marriage. The doctors think I have a genetic heart condition, he told her as they sat in their bedroom after the girls had gone to sleep. It's the same thing that may have killed my grandfather, and it could kill me too if I don't make major changes. Lauren's response was immediate and clear. Then you make the changes. Whatever it takes. Lauren, you don't understand. They're telling me I can't lift heavy weights anymore. I can't do my own stunts. I might have to completely change how I work, how I present myself publicly, everything that people expect from The Rock. Dwayne, Lauren said, taking his hands, I didn't fall in love with The Rock. I fell in love with Dwayne Johnson. Your daughters don't need their father to be the strongest man in the world. They need their father to be alive. But the decision wasn't just personal, it was professional and financial as well. Dwayne had movie commitments worth over $100 million that required intense physical performance. He had endorsement deals with fitness companies that depended on his image as an unstoppable physical force. His entire social media brand was built around motivational workout content. The next morning, Dwayne called an emergency meeting with his business team to discuss how to handle the diagnosis without destroying his career. I need to tell you all something, he began, and I need your help figuring out how to manage it. He explained the medical situation and the restrictions the doctors had placed on his physical activity. The response from his team was a mixture of concern for his health and panic about the business implications. His agent, Sarah Kim, was the first to voice what everyone was thinking. Dwayne, if this gets out, it could affect every contract you have. Insurance companies could refuse to cover you for action movies. Fitness brands might drop their endorsements. We need to be very careful about who knows this information. But his business manager, Marcus Sterling, had a different perspective. The question isn't how to hide this. The question is how to adapt your brand and your business to work with your health requirements instead of against them. Over the next 2 weeks, Dwayne worked with his medical team and his business advisors to develop a plan that would protect his health while preserving his career. The strategy was complex and required careful coordination across all aspects of his professional life. For his movie commitments, he would work with stunt coordinators to develop new approaches to action scenes that relied more on technology and camera work than physical performance. For his fitness brand, he would shift from promoting extreme workouts to promoting sustainable, health-focused fitness that emphasized longevity over intensity. Most importantly, he would use his platform to raise awareness about genetic health testing and the importance of understanding family medical history. But the biggest challenge was personal. Deciding whether to have his daughters tested for the genetic condition. Dr. Torres had explained that if Dwayne carried the gene, each of his daughters would have a 50% chance of inheriting it. Early detection could be life-saving, but it could also burden them with knowledge about a condition that might never manifest. After weeks of agonizing over the decision, Dwayne and Lauren chose to have the girls tested, with the understanding that the results would be kept private until they were old enough to understand and make their own decisions about how to use the information. The results, when they came back, were a mixture of relief and continued concern. His oldest daughter, Simone, had not inherited the gene. But his youngest daughter, Jasmine, had tested positive for the genetic variant. Learning that he had passed this potentially dangerous condition to one of his daughters was devastating for Dwayne. The guilt was overwhelming, even though he knew rationally that genetic inheritance wasn't something he could have controlled. But Dr. Torres helped him understand that knowledge was power in this situation. Mr. Johnson, because we know Jasmine carries the gene, we can monitor her health from an early age. We can make sure she gets regular cardiac screenings, and if the condition ever begins to manifest, we can treat it before it becomes dangerous. She has advantages that your grandfather never had. The monitoring protocol that followed was comprehensive and life-changing for the entire family. Regular cardiac screenings, dietary modifications, carefully designed exercise programs, and ongoing genetic counseling became part of their routine. For Dwayne personally, the changes were dramatic. His legendary workout routines became more strategic and less intense. His approach to nutrition shifted from supporting extreme muscle building to supporting long-term cardiac health. His sleep and stress management became priorities in ways they had never been before. But perhaps most significantly, his relationship with his own mortality changed completely. Before the diagnosis, Dwayne had lived with the unconscious assumption that his physical strength would protect him from serious health problems. The genetic condition forced him to confront the reality that some threats to health couldn't be overcome through willpower or physical fitness. This shift in perspective influenced every aspect of his life and career. His business decisions became more focused on building lasting value rather than immediate results. His time with his family became more intentional and present. His approach to risk-taking became more measured and thoughtful. The professional changes, surprisingly, enhanced rather than diminished his career. The shift toward more sustainable fitness content resonated with audiences who were tired of extreme workout culture. His more strategic approach to movie projects led to better roles and higher quality films. His increased focus on family time and health made his social media content more relatable and authentic. Most importantly, his openness about health challenges and genetic testing helped raise awareness about preventive medicine in ways that potentially saved other lives. In 2021, Dwayne made the decision to publicly share his experience with genetic health testing, though he kept the specific details of his condition private. "I learned that knowing your genetic risks isn't about fear," he explained in a social media post. "It's about power. It's about taking control of your health in ways that previous generations couldn't." The response was overwhelming. Thousands of people shared their own stories of genetic testing and family health history. Medical professionals praised his advocacy for preventive medicine. Most meaningfully, several people reached out to say that his openness had motivated them to get tested and discover genetic conditions that required immediate treatment. Today, the medical file that once terrified Dwayne sits in his safe as a reminder of how close he came to a very different future. The genetic condition that could have killed him instead became the catalyst for a healthier, more balanced, and ultimately more successful approach to life and career. The regular cardiac monitoring continues, and the condition remains stable and manageable through lifestyle modifications and medical oversight. Jasmine's health is closely monitored as well, with the understanding that early detection and prevention are her best protections. When asked about how the diagnosis changed his perspective on success and priorities, Dwayne always emphasizes the importance of listening to your body and understanding your genetic risks. "Strength isn't about how much weight you can lift or how many hours you can work," he explains. "Real strength is about making the hard decisions that protect your ability to be there for the people who need you." The doctor's call that terrified The Rock ultimately became the wake-up call that saved his life and transformed his understanding of what it really means to be strong. Sometimes the scariest news becomes the most valuable information you'll ever receive.